Well, good afternoon, people. I apologize about the voice. This is what happens when you spend 3 days with allergies sitting on a motorcycle range training people. So I will try to make sure I'm heard. Okay. Before we get going, though, the official formalities. Good evening, and thank you for participating in our remote regular monthly meeting of the Parks Advisory Board. We will do our best to facilitate a smooth meeting with public participation and ask that everyone be patient as we navigate this electronic platform. We have two formats for participation, the Zoom web application as well as teleconference. Before we begin, I want to review some guidelines and general instructions for the meeting. Please silence your other communication devices such as your cell phone or desk phone. This will ensure that we are not hearing any feedback or causing interruption during the meeting. During the meeting, all participants on Zoom, except for the board members and county staff, will be placed on mute by the host. This means that you will not be able to mute or unmute your lines manually. Okay, the chair will announce opportunities for public comment, which are indicated on the meeting agenda. For those on Zoom, if you would like to make public comment, please click the raise hand feature and to signal that you would like to comment. The sound will be unmuted and the internet participant should announce their first and last name before speaking. Participant will be called upon to speak at the appropriate time. For those calling in using the phone line only, if you would like to make public comment, please dial *9 on your keypad to signal that you would like to comment. The last four digits of the call-in number will be announced, and call-in participation should announce their first and last name before speaking. Participants will be called upon to speak at the appropriate time. Thank you very much. And moving on along, we'll get into our agenda. Welcome, and we'll have introductions. Let's begin with board members around the first board members who are on Zoom.
This is Linda Barry Mare, North Kitsap.
Hi, and this is Amy Lawrence, Central Kitsap.
Okay, let's go around the table.
Dawn Doctor from South Kitsap.
Nancy Whitaker, Central Kitsap.
Lisa Hurt, North Kitsap.
Jessica Rice, South Kitsap.
And Larry Walker, South Kitsap, and chair. And I would like to welcome Jessica to the party. Great to see you here. And staff.
Thanks, Larry. Alex Wisniewski, Parks Director.
Carmen Smith, Parks Planner.
Irene Weber, Natural Resource Program Supervisor.
Any staff online?
Yep, Chuck Gazzetto, Kitsap County Parks Department, Marketing Communications Coordinator. Thank you.
Alex Hardy, Marketing and Events Program Supervisor.
Okay, well, that being done, has everybody had a chance to review minutes? I do believe that one revision was put in. Alex, would you speak to that, please?
Yes, came from Linda. Linda, do you want to comment on that, or do you want me to read the email you sent?
I had just asked, apologies for the background noise. I'm in an airport, but I had just asked that the minutes be corrected to reflect that my comment about the divide purchase was that Great Peninsula Conservancy is the owner, not the Parks Department.
Okay, duly noted. So are there any other additions, corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to adopt our minutes.
I move that we adopt the minutes as changed. And thank you.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. If you're online, say aye if you're in the room.
Aye.
Opposed? And we have minutes. Next item on the agenda is our public comment. Remember, we have a 3-minute time limit on this, so please try to be concise.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Casey Patton. I'm from the Kitsap Aircraft Radio Control Society. And I have two items. I attended the Military Appreciation Day this last Saturday. And I'd like to thank the Parks Department for a lot of tremendous support because of the entire pavilion was filled. And there was a lot of guests and kids that came out and everything else. So it was a great success, in my opinion. And secondly, I'd like to thank Carmen again for coming out to the field and seeing what we have to offer. And she was actually able to see some of the guys fly their airplanes. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Anybody else?
My name is Susan Anderson. I'm from Central Kitsap. Yeah, bro. My name is Susan Anderson. I'm from Central Kitsap, and I'm speaking representing myself. I passed out my pros plan comments that I submitted on the 14th, but I thought that this might be added emphasis in what I wrote. I want to say that I feel that Central Kitsap was shortchanged in terms of the public outreach for the pros plan. South Kitsap, North Kitsap, I think had much greater outreach. And while I do appreciate that Alex came to the CKCC meeting, it certainly wasn't an opportunity to have any exchange of ideas. And so I hope that the facilities that the park has are all in Central Kitsap. There certainly should have been a time for the community to engage with the parks as far as the pros program goes. The other thing is that in reviewing the pros plan, I was really struck that all of this effort is put into something for which there is no funding by the county. And that just, there has to be some way to fund all the things that we want to do. And I think that I wrote down a bunch that, addresses that. But certainly acquisition of more does not help the Parks Department at all. And I realize that you're an advisory, board. So it's really the county commissioners that have to say, no, we've got enough on our plate and we're having a tough time, dealing with that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and appreciate your written submission here too. Do we have any other? No one online. Okay. I stand corrected.
And yes, Joe Lubisher has raised his hand, so I'm allowing you to talk. One moment. And Joe, you can go ahead and unmute yourself.
Thank you. Good evening, board. My name is Joe Lubisher, North Kitsap. I've been engaging with the pros plan for more years than most of the staff. And I wanted to point out a couple things to the board. First of all, in November 23, I asked at one of the pros plan public meetings when we were going to talk about policy, and the consultant said they weren't. And that has turned out to be true. So there's, up until today, really, this is the first opportunity that the public has had to discuss this plan. And I think, and looking at the responses to the written comments, I was very disappointed. They seemed to me curt, dismissive, and not really useful. They indicated to me that Parks really doesn't have an interest in engaging with the public that has been working and using these parks for, especially the heritage parks, for over 15 years now. In general, about the pros plan, it seemed to me that there's a lot of platitudes in it. You can find an answer to everything, but I really don't see a good direction. I don't see actionable items. And I hope you take that into your consideration, because that's what this pros plan is supposed to be. It's supposed to be something that tells the public what Parks is going to be doing. There are just too many goals and not enough specifics, I would say. So good luck. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Dee, do we have anybody else?
Yes, we do. And Carol Price, I'm allowing you to talk.
Good evening. This is not a pros plan comment. Recently I walked the Ewok Trail. Actually, I slid down part of it because a tree fell over and the roots tore out the trail. But my comment is about the thinning that occurred along Ewok. It's pretty stunning. You can see caterpillar tracks left over from the thinning. They drove all over that area. It's sloppy. Of course, I know it will look different in a year or 2 or 3, but this is not the kind of thinning that I saw at Newberry Hill, where they used equipment that had big balloon tires that the weight was distributed, and as a result, the undergrowth wasn't just destroyed and there weren't caterpillar tracks left all over. I would like to ask Parks, isn't there another way? Isn't there some way we can avoid such destruction as has taken place along Ewok? That really is disturbing. And part of the reason that tree may have fallen over, yes, there was a lot of wind, but downhill from that tree, the structure was gone. And so the roots didn't have a lot to hang on to, and as a result, it tipped over and pulled the trail off. That's my comment. I'll comment more later. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Do we have any more public comment? Hearing no more public comment, we will move on. Special presentations and reports. Kitsap County budget reductions in 2026. Alex?
Yeah, I have a very unfavorable job of delivering very unfavorable news tonight. It has been shared with the departments about a month ago and has been slowly, the budget office has been working around the community, doing various presentations, indicating that we have reached a structural challenge in the county's budget. And the skinny of it is that the county is projecting an $8 million budget shortfall in 2026. The commissioners to date have agreed to utilize fund balance to their reserves rather to absorb 2 million of that. And the departments who are funded by general fund, which we are one, will be responsible for absorbing the remaining $6 million. how that gets apportioned out across the various departments has not yet been determined. The initial indication to the Parks Department is that we can anticipate somewhere between 2 to 5 FTEs in terms of a staff level reduction. That would take us from 40 down to 35. And we currently have 5 vacancies, which we are not planning to fill this year in anticipation of utilizing that to absorb whatever impact was going to come to the Parks Department, which we don't know just yet. So with that, it will also cause a domino effect in terms of what we're able to do in terms of our operations, what we're able to provide to the public, and probably will have some adjustments with the way that we function to accommodate. So I don't know exactly what that means at this point, because I don't know exactly what the impacts are going to be coming to the Parks Department. But since this has now gone public and they are, like I said, going around the county to different advisory committees, different communities, and sharing this, it was very much so appropriate that I wanted the Parks Advisory Board to know about this. And there will be certainly more to come as we know more about the details about what's coming to us and going to be our responsibility. There's a lot of details involved in the why side of it. Why do we have a structural deficit? And it would be easier if the budget office was here to present all of that because they know all the nuance, but a portion of it is that and this is not unique to Kitsap County. This is state of Washington. This is cities and counties across the state of Washington. There is one I don't even know if it's the primary reason. There is one reason that adds into the pot of challenges that is leading to this. That is that property taxes by law, by state law, are limited in growth to only 1% a year. This was a law that was passed a couple decades ago. And as we all know and feel in our own pocketbooks and experience in our own lives, the cost of living, the cost of inflation, the cost of goods and services, the cost of healthcare and benefits rises much faster than 1% a year. And so we, as a county, have reached a point where expenses for our current configuration are now exceeding projected revenues based on what we know for property taxes and projections for sales tax and the other revenue sources coming into the county for 2026. My understanding is that, again, this is also not unique to just now. This situation would have occurred a few years ago, in all honesty, had we not gone through the impacts of the COVID pandemic. During that time, the county furloughed staff, they froze positions, a lot of services stopped. And so there was a lot of reduction in expenses, and that actually delayed some of the impacts until now. And so we find ourselves in a challenging position. Again, what that means, I don't know yet. There's more conversations that will be had with the budget office, with yourselves, with the commissioners. We need more direction before before we can kind of start to detail out what the impacts are going to be to the department. That's probably about all I've got on that tonight. I tried to find some slides from the budget office to kind of show in a graphic way or share, but everything was way too nuanced and a little confusing. So I kind of set it aside and figured we'll just talk about it tonight. But yeah, happy to answer any questions that you may have. I may not have answers, but I'm happy to take them. Linda, you got your hand raised?
Yes, Alex, I was wondering if you can tell us what percentage of the general fund budget 8 million is.
Oh, gosh. I don't know off the top of my head, but I may have that up on a screen here. Hold on just a moment. I didn't catch any of that.
I think an estimation would be about 6%, if I'm doing my mental math right.
Yeah, the county's projected expenses in 2026 are 138 million. So whatever, and the actual shortfall is 8 million. So whatever that calculates out to be.
Looks like it calculates to about 8.28% roughly.
Well, thank you very much, Alex. I know you really did not want to come in and give us that wonderfully good news. But having spent the last 2 months down in Olympia, watching what's going on down there, I've got a real good grasp. Maybe sometime in the nearby future, if you would be open to it, I'd like to sit down with you and we can discuss this more when we got more time and I got more voice. Coffee's on me. All right. Well, thank you very much. Next thing we have here is Parks and Recreations and Open Space Plan.
Real quick,
Alex, yes.
just wanted to add, for this year, even though we're not hiring to replace the full-time employees, we are adding seasonal staff more than we normally do to help get us through 2025. So we are looking to have 12 seasonal staff start on April 7th and work 6 months through the end of September for us.
Yeah, thanks, Alex. Really good point.
Thanks for that.
Totally forgot. Yeah, so while we are not hiring the 5 positions, at least not yet, it's entirely possible that we won't need to utilize all 5 of the FTEs. That would be the ideal situation, and we'll be able to hire staff back in the latter half of the year once we know full direction. But we do have that salary savings this year, and so we're using it for summer temporary staff this year. They're not full-time, so they won't be let go. It'll just be a term position. And then we'll use that salary savings, not hopefully laying anybody off going into the next year, into 2026. We will have the vacancies to absorb and not impact staff. That is our number one goal.
An admirable goal, might I add. Okay. Here's my spare eyes here because my bifocals aren't working. Okay, no hands. Moving on, Parks Rec Pros Plan. Carmen and Alex, the floor is y'all's.
Great. Thank you. Let me go ahead and share my screen here. Good. All right. Thank you, everybody. We wanted to take some time this meeting to talk about public comment period for the PROS plan. And specifically want to talk through some of the themes that we heard in the public comment period, as well as some of the edits that we are making to the PROS plan based on the public comment period. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started. So we had a 5-week public comment period. The draft PROS plan was released on February 10th. The public comment period ran through March 16th. We actually closed it early Monday morning on the 17th. But during that period, we received a total of 445 comments on the plan. It's worth pointing out many of those comments included multiple comments or touched on different topics. So 445 total comments, but covering a variety of different topics. And we captured comments received via our online form, which was the primary way. That's where we drove a lot of members of the public to comment using that online Cognito form. We also collected comments from 3 community meetings that we held throughout the public comment period. We had one in the north to kick us off in February, and then we had a south meeting, and then we also presented at the Central Kitsap Community Council meeting, and we were able to provide an overview of the plan and encourage folks to go online, read the plan, and provide their comments. So we were able to capture some comments both via written comment card as well as verbal comments at those meetings. As well as the PAB meeting last month, there were a few comments related to the PROS plan. And then lastly, we captured some comments via email, some folks emailing comments directly to Parks. This is just a quick breakdown of where some of the comments are coming from. So the graph on the left is by source. So those methods that I just talked about, not surprising, the online form accounted for almost 90% of the comments. That's really the main place folks were directed to provide their comments. So not surprising that that's where we're seeing the majority of comments coming from. On the right-hand side, that is by district, so by location in the county where we received comments. The South District is there in that red maroon color and accounted for almost half of the comments that we received coming from South. About a third coming from the North, roughly 15% from Central, and then 6% were either outside of the county or they didn't provide the location. So I'm not sure where those ones came from. So in the next few slides, we wanted to go through several of the main themes that came out of the public comments that we received. So we'll start here with athletic facilities. This theme received 96 comments. Majority of those comments were focused on athletic field improvements and specifically highlighting synthetic turf, lighting to be able to extend the season and during the day when folks can use those fields. And really encouraging changing the prioritization of those field projects in the CIP list that is contained within the plan. These comments primarily focused on fields in the South Kitsap and primarily on soccer fields, but we did have a comment about fields in the North Kitsap as well. The athletic facilities theme also includes a few comments that express concerns over synthetic turf, in particular health impacts, injuries, as well as environmental impacts from the material turf. Projects, kind of a large bucket regarding comments that were on capital projects that were either in the plan or suggested. So we saw support for pickleball, disc golf, restroom projects, as well as land acquisition. There was also expressed desire to see some park planning and development and projects at a number of specific parks. Pointed out on the slide here, you have Coulter Creek Heritage Park, South Kitsap, Regional Park, Norwegian Point in Hansville, and Wicks Lake Park as well. There were several comments that expressed some concerns over not wanting to see park development projects or sports and infrastructure projects in the nature park classification of parks, as well as questions over how projects within the capital improvement project are prioritized, how they're chosen to be in that target 1 to 6 year or the 6+ target year, as well as concerns over the department's ability to be able to complete such a lengthy list of projects. You can see in the table, the capital project table runs about 7 pages within the plan. So certainly a number of projects in there. Communication and engagement involved a number of different topics. There were concerns over changes to the department's volunteer program, as well as concerns over the Parks Advisory Board's role in PRO's plan development and the public comment process. Some folks expressed that there was not enough time. They felt they didn't have enough time to review and cover the full length of the document. It is a long, complex document, and wanted to have more time to be able to read and process and provide comments on the plan. Last point in communication and engagement was pointing out maybe a lack of representation in the public survey respondents, or lack of representation, as well as providing some suggestions for how we can do engagement better in the future. Different groups that we could reach out to, different places where we could advertise public engagement efforts. Natural resources, this theme really touched on overuse, damage to parks because of overuse, as well as looking to see more in supporting wildlife and habitat protection in the plan, invasive species, noxious weed removal. And then a number of folks also appreciated seeing the focus on natural resources in the plan, as well as the development and implementation of natural resource management plans for specific parks. Plan contents and organization dealt with concerns over changes from the 2018 PROS plan to this 2025 update, as well as how does this plan relate and how is it consistent or not with existing county plans. Primarily mentioned here was the comprehensive plan update that the county adopted at the end of last year, the 2024 comprehensive plan. Other comments pointed out typos, grammatical errors, repetition, lengthy document. And then the last point here on the slide is about the facility inventory and inventory analysis section in the plan. Several folks indicated that they would have liked to have seen non-county owned properties and facilities in that inventory. They are included in the level of service discussion, but we've talked about at last meeting that the non-county inventory has not been updated since 2012. So it's definitely something the department intends to look at and make sure that we've got an accurate representation of all the different facilities that are in the county properties. Park classifications. This is a proposed change in the update. Kind of split comments here. There were several comments indicating a desire to have seen more engagement around the park classification updates and clearer rationale provided for those changes. Also, a handful of folks indicating support for those updated park classifications and supported aligning with state frameworks on the classifications. Just wanted to point out a couple of park-specific comments related to the classifications. For Port Gamble Forest Heritage Park, there were comments disagreeing with that updated classification, but then the other two, Wynn Jones and Hansville Greenway, folks supported that classification as they're both natural area, I believe, or nature park. Safety and maintenance primarily was focused on rule enforcement, several comments about off-leash dogs, speed limits on trails, graffiti, litter, general maintenance and rule enforcement. The Parks Department does not have an enforcement program and instead relies on sheriff for rule enforcement. So folks were pointing out those challenges, as well as balance of maintenance and management with such a large inventory. And limited staff to do so, and pointing out some challenges there, as well as trail safety resulting from user conflicts on trails within the parks. Lastly, last theme here, just wanted to highlight there were also a number of comments that expressed support of the plan, felt it was thoughtful, inclusive, addressed needs of the community, and they appreciated the opportunity to comment on the plan and look forward to see its implementation in the future. So now we wanted to focus on groups of edits that the department is making to the plan. So we have these grouped in a number of different themes. We'll start with just general housekeeping, cleaning up the plan. There were a number of typos or formatting errors, mislabeled figures that we have been working hard to correct, as well as updating any park classifications or acreage of parks that were incorrect. There were a few duplicate or blurry pictures that we've been updating. And then also, yeah, interesting, we got a public comment about Southworth open space that was sold in 2022. So we've removed that from the inventory and the map that goes along with that. And we reorganized the system inventory and map based on park location, just to increase readability and clarity. We've got the parks grouped by north, central, and south versus they were grouped by the old classification. So I just felt discombobulated a bit. So trying to clean that up in the housekeeping section. Additions and clarifications kind of builds on the housekeeping topic. There was confusion around the section in the plan where it reviews existing plans. There was a placeholder in there, Appendix X, that created a lot of confusion. And so we've cleaned that up, relabeled it, and directed folks where they can provide, where the review of those different plans exists, whether it's in the plan or it's in the appendix. So pointing folks directly to where that is. We also added a section highlighting some of the 3 key differences between the PROS plan from 2018 and this update. We'll get to that later in a few slides, but wanted that to live in the plan as well. We added information regarding the Parks Advisory Board, what it is and what you all do, to make sure that was captured in the plan as well. We updated or added, information about our current maintenance and management contracts. Updated the outreach in section to include and accurately reflect all the different groups that participated in the stakeholder interviews and questionnaires, and made sure that each group has a summary paragraph discussing what the major themes that came out of those interviews. A couple of other quick clarifications about the Park Ambassador and Volunteer Park Ranger program. This is not something that we currently have, but express that it's something that could be pursued or considered in the future. And then we also clarified the department's funding sources and broke out which ones are operational and which ones are for capital projects. So just trying to add some clarity for users and readers of the document. Projects. So this theme is about changes to that large table I mentioned of capital projects. I believe it's table 6-3. So these are the main changes that have been made to that based on what we've been hearing. So as I mentioned, athletic fields was a topic we heard a lot about. And so you can see we adjusted that priority target year for Veterans Memorial, South Kitsap Regional, and Anderson Hill Athletic Field all had field projects scheduled for 6+ years, but we moved those to the 1 to 6 target. Adjusted the pickleball court project to 6+ year from 1 to 6, but that doesn't, we also in the South have a number of park development projects that are included in the 1 to 6 year target. So that we'll definitely look at, is there suitable locations or locations where pickleball may make sense being rolled into those projects versus how it's listed in the plan right now as a standalone amenity with that doesn't have a location attached to it. So we also added improvement projects to address maintenance and repair and improvement needs at the 2 golf courses that we own, Village Greens and Rolling Hills. Also added an project focused on energy efficiency improvements in facilities in our parks. Added land acquisition projects in each district and also in the conservation theme as well, to support more equitable access to parks and recreation facilities, as well as land acquisition for conservation and natural resource protection. Lastly, just removed any projects that already had been completed or were there in error or were duplicate. So cleaning up that table as well. Lastly, the appendices. We've added a number of documents to the appendices. So regional park classification, that definition was missing from the appendix. So made sure to add that back in. Also added an updated engagement tracker that shows all the engagement opportunities and messaging that's been sent out about the PROS plan, made sure that that's up to date, as well as we've created a question and answer sheet from the 3 community meetings we had. So we captured all the questions that were asked, as well as providing a staff or department answer to those questions. We added the public comments that we received during this 5-week public comment period, as well as staff responses to each of those comments. Just combined the 3 public surveys into one appendix. All the material still there, just put it all in one. And then added the review of existing plans and stakeholder interview notes. Appendix G and H were added early on into the public comment period based on public comments that we were receiving around confusion about those, but just wanted to highlight them as well. But those live in the version that's posted online right now. And then in the last few slides, we just wanted to touch in greater detail on some of the themes we've been hearing in the public comment period. So I mentioned the 2018 PROS plan and the 2024 comprehensive plan. So wanted to just provide some more information on these topics. The 2025 PROS plan update that we're currently doing carries forward the concepts from the 2018 PROS plan goals and objectives. And you can see in the last chunk there, these are what we would consider to be the major changes from the 2018 to this version. So in the 2025 update includes those updated park classifications to align with state classifications. Goals were realigned to better organize and fall under 5 specific department program areas. And the 2025 includes a more built out, more robust capital improvement project list and engagement that went along with it. That's kind of the relationship to the 2018 plan. Those important concepts are still with us. They still exist in the 2025 plan. They might just look a little bit different because they've been rearranged into those department program areas. And then in relation to the comprehensive plan, the 2024 comp plan that DCD adopted, the PROS plan supersedes the element in the comp plan. That's the parks, recreation, and open space element. The PROS plan will be adopted by reference into the comp plan. And as I mentioned, it supersedes that element. So the goals and objectives and actions that are in the PROS plan supersede the goals and policies and strategies, I believe they're called, in the comp plan. And that our PROS plan is currently being reviewed for consistency with the comprehensive plan, and that review will also be reviewed by DCD, the department responsible for the comprehensive plan. Park classifications, wanted to just touch a little bit more and explain a little bit more about what the park classification update does and what it doesn't do. So importantly, the park classification updates really serves as a way for us to group parks that have similar purposes, that have similar intended use, and that have similar attributes. And it helps us utilize standard language when we go to apply for grants from groups such as RCO, the State Recreation and Conservation Office. The park classification updates are not going to change the names of any of the parks. They do not do that, and they do not dictate the management of the parks. So they're not proposing changes to management or naming conventions of the parks. On the management side, department intends and will develop park management plans for specific parks that are based on community input and engagement, as well as the intended purpose for those specific parks. Also wanted to touch on the landscape classifications that were included in the 2018 PROS plan. They're also included in the draft Port Gamble Forest Heritage Park framework. These are different than the park classifications. These still exist, and these will be applied to specific parks, specific areas within specific parks to help guide management and allowed uses within those areas. So they're different than the park classification update scheme that's in the updated plan. So just wanted to try to provide a little clarity about those two different things and what classifications are intended to do and what they can't do or don't do. Volunteer program, as I mentioned, there were several comments with concerns over changes to the volunteer program within the department. Wanted to point out that and note the pros plan does not include operations for department programs, which would include the volunteer program. It's a higher level planning document. It doesn't get into day-to-day operations for the programs. But the pros plan does value and note the importance and the role of volunteerism. And we've pulled objectives and actions that speak to different volunteer activities that you can see here. And we'll continue to provide ongoing volunteer opportunities that align with our current limited staff capacity. Trail user conflicts. I believe this is our last theme. There were a number of comments, as we talked about in the safety and maintenance, that focused on user conflicts and safety on multi-use trails. We will be adding language to the pros plan. We will be adding objectives and actions that speak to these recreation conflicts, both on improving trail safety from user conflicts, but also from a larger park planning and development perspective to make sure that compatible uses are going near each other and we're reducing any kind of use conflict within the park. So getting at it from a couple of different angles there. And then more specifically, as I mentioned, the draft Port Gamble Forest Heritage Park framework. The department will be doing updates with that in 2026, and this will be another thing that will be looked at as part of that update. We'll be exploring trail user conflicts specific to that park as well. And that is it for the slides. Happy to take questions, comments on anything you heard. And Alex, do you have any additional?
No additional comments from me other than I just want to tip my hat to Carmen coming on, not barely being here for a couple months and really just jumping in with both feet into the pros plan. Really going through it repeatedly with fine tooth comb and finding a lot of the mistakes, the typos, the challenges, the repetitions, some of the missing paragraphs that help link and make the document flow a little bit better. And tracking all of those changes that are in progress right now. We hope to have it completed and posted by the end of the week. But a lot of congrats to Carmen for all the work. I don't even know where the department would be without a planner right now. So I'm very happy she's here. With that, yes, let's open it up to conversation.
Thank you. Good job, Carmen. I mean, that was good synopsis. Anyway, I have a statement that I want to make. The timeline to approval seems to keep marching on regardless of what the public seems to say. It's like completed, check, ad nauseum. I mean, it's just check, check, check. I have read the 50+ pages of public comments and the staff responses. The responses seem to be AI generated by stating comments noted or by continually pointing out the same goals and objectives of the plan without saying how the plan is going to change to accommodate for all this public outcry. People, and being a PAB member, that's part of my job, to hear what people say, and I hear a lot, that they feel Parks is just making a point that this is how the public plan is going to go, regardless of the opinions expressed. I have been told of and have participated in countless hours of reading and digesting this plan to come up with thoughtful and constructive comments to help guide this plan, which is a public plan. Much of the feedback I'm hearing, and I agree with, that the comments made are being spoken to deaf ears. Basically, there will be no change in the outcome of this obtuse and confusing document. It seems the public surveys were theater, and that's not just my opinion, and were a huge waste of time. The comments made do show up in the appendix, But the 25 pros plan, draft plan does not reflect the comments made. So, you know, and reading the appendix makes that really clear, just all the comments. So that's my statement. Thank you.
I would just say that Susan Anderson's contribution tonight is a good example of the length that the public is going to look at this and understand it. And I was able to just kind of scan through it. And I'm very impressed with the amount of work she did. So I hope that that gets read and digested.
These are included in the comment tracking form.
You mean included, uploaded or something, but I'm saying read and considered and responded to.
Yes.
Okay, we have a hand up on the screen.
Linda, go ahead.
Hi, again, apologies for background noise. One, I wanted to say that overall, I thought the document was very well done, and I also appreciate Carmen stepping up and jumping into this with professionalism and enthusiasm. I had a couple of concerns. One, I do think the park classification we should have some more discussion at the Parks Advisory Board. And for me in particular, I'm concerned about assuming that all the huge heritage parks should become nature areas. I grew up in the Berkeley area in California, where we had an East Bay Regional Park that was vastly natural, but also had some other more active recreation facilities included in the park on the edges. And I am wondering why some of those big parks, particularly Port Gamble, wouldn't be a mix of both a nature park and a regional park. It's the biggest county park in the state of Washington. And it does have active recreation components, particularly in the ride park, but we want to have picnic areas. It ought to be able to have a playground. The other concern I had is that some of the inventory, particularly of existing parks, I noticed that the Port Gamble Park appeared to be qualified as a status of 4, which means basically completed park with sort of minor needs. And that park, you know, is still in the process of being clear cut. I would consider it has pretty significant needs and will continue to have more. So I would think that it wouldn't be classified as a park that's basically complete. My other thought is that, you know, I am a little concerned that some of the Central Kitsap people think there needs to be another presentation. And I'm wondering if maybe another presentation in Central could be squeezed in and allow another couple weeks of public comment. I do think a comment matrix should clarify when people have made repeated comments. I couldn't tell if, you know, some people had submitted the equivalent of 3 or 4 or 5 pages of those comments, and what were, you know, individual comments. And I can understand if you don't want to put names to them, maybe we can put a commenter number or something, so that we can tell when one person is saying a whole lot versus when 25 people are weighing in on an issue. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Lots of yes, Amy.
Sorry, you went out for a minute there. I couldn't hear if you were. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
I want to echo what Linda was just saying. I was at the Central Kitsap meeting, and it was part of an existing CKCC meeting, which was great, but there were a ton of people there, and I think it merited its own kind of individual meeting, if that's possible. I know that's probably hard to fit into the time frame. I don't know how much wiggle room there is, but there were a lot of people there, and we don't usually get that many people at those meetings. So I think there was a lot of interest. And I agree with the comment too about the commenter numbers on the comment matrix. I just, I think we just got that comment matrix yesterday or something. So I haven't made my way through the whole thing, but I'd be curious to know, the number of individual people making a particular comment. But I do think it was a good document, and I appreciate all the work that's gone into it. So, and I appreciate all the outreach that you've done, which I think has been extensive.
One quick comment about the three presentations that we did. We did one in the north, south, and in the central. The north and the south presentations were dedicated presentations to the pros plan. And the one in the central, as those who were there know, was a component of an existing meeting, the Central Kitsap Community Council. The way that those three meetings played out were at the direction of the commissioners. So that's how they told us to do those. So this wasn't like originally those were going to fall in line and happen at all of the community advisory committees. The North Commissioner wanted to have a standalone meeting, so we did. The South Commissioner instructed us to do the same, and Central, the Commissioner wanted to keep it joined with the CKCC meeting. So that's the way that we did it. It definitely limited our ability to share a full presentation, because at the North and South, the presentation was about 45 minutes long, an hour-ish long, somewhere around there. And then we had an open Q&A session for about a half an hour-ish after each one of those. We were not able to do that at the CKCC meeting. We definitely saw that as a challenge there. So appreciate the comment and the reflecting on that.
Will there be an opportunity for another meeting for Central? I mean, it seems that would be a reasonable request to have a little more time for that group to have it be equitable to South and North.
Well, yeah, it wasn't our decision. It was at the direction of the commissioner. If we are to change the time frame, we'd have to get direction from the commissioners at this point, I believe. But if the Parks Advisory Board wants to, consider a recommendation, you can do that as a group. Our review of the comments that have come in, the way that we have provided thoughtful process and editing into the 2025 pros plan, is we do not feel that an extension is warranted. 5-week comment period is relatively long for these type of opportunities, and based on my experience in other places I've worked. But if instructed, we would do something different.
Yes, John.
After what Linda said about the numbers and the names, it would appear to me that after reading, not reading fully, but skimming the program, that if somebody goes through the amount of time to make a comment, rather than a number, they should be putting their name on it. They should. I can't think of the word I want right now. They should. Yeah, put their name on it rather than sending it in anonymously, or just.
Well, we set up the comment form to be anonymous purposefully, so that it didn't discourage people from providing comments. As Linda indicated, there's a challenge with that. There's benefits and there's pros and cons going both ways. The challenge is, it makes it a little bit more difficult to track whether one person's hopping on and plugging in 50 comments and sending them. From our review, we're not really seeing that the comments seem to be coming in mostly from separate people, from individuals. There are repeat comments in there, and that's okay. There are a couple where comments came into the county via email and they filled out the comment form. Those we were able to see the duplicates, and we just counted them once. But again, the comments too are not meant to be a numbers game where it's like 93 comments here, we're going to do that. 20 comments here, we're not doing that. That's not quite how this works, but yeah, we're just trying to provide an opportunity for everyone to comment in a way that they're comfortable with. One other thing, and just reflecting on, what the pros plan is. And I talked about this in the North and the South presentations. The front 2/3 of the chapters, your public engagement reviews, your inventory analysis, the needs and demand analysis, all of that is kind of information gathering. And that gets aggregated, and you end up with two outcomes of this plan. Those two outcomes are the goals and objectives and the capital projects in the CIP chapter. And so what I have offered is asking, within those two things, your goals or your goals and objectives are what at a very high level, we use is intended for the department to use to base, management decisions on, creating policy, providing direction for how we move the department, how we manage the department, and steer towards park development and management plans that reflect what we're hearing from the community. The second thing are the capital projects, and that is what we're trying to get done on the ground. And that is also based on what we heard from the community, as well as the inventory analysis of existing facilities, all of that stuff together. And so within a review of those two pieces, do you see what you want the Parks Department to become? And it's not perfect. There are probably things in there and you may only be interested in one portion of it, and that's okay. But we need to reflect on what we're hearing from the entire county community. That includes not only, nature lovers and preserve and keep people out on one end of the spectrum, to we need to develop, active recreation facilities, ball fields, playgrounds, picnic shelters, boat ramps for people to have a different type of recreation experience. And so we're trying to, run the spectrum of capturing this within the context of the goals and objectives section, as well as, what is laid out in those capital improvement projects. So I'll just leave you with that for a minute.
Okay, one more question. So since the budget is of concern, I guess I'll bring the stewardship groups up again. They were giving tremendous amounts of time for free and tons of knowledge base, and they seem to be getting wiped out, and a lot of people are quitting. So that's going to put a stress on the park. So I don't understand why, this whole change of terminology to volunteerism and volunteers versus stewardship groups, which the 2018 plan stressed highly how important the stewardship plan was and the stewards are to the parks. So they seem to save tons of money and help with the staffing, because you don't need staffing to manage stewards, because they can manage the staff, because of their knowledge base.
I would reverse that. Stewardship groups are volunteers. They volunteer their time to assist the Parks Department with the needs of the parks. Those needs are varied. They include on the ground maintenance tasks from, pulling vegetation to trail maintenance, to trail construction, to assisting with park planning, developing management plans, and none of that is going away. Those needs still remain. What we are doing is and in part due to some of the coming impacts from the budget cuts, as well as the maintenance study that we're looking at currently, is making some operational changes to the department, to how we function, and how we identify department level needs and where volunteers can help fit into that and help supplement the staffing challenges that we have. Those are not going away. We're still going to need volunteerism to assist with, monthly work parties in the parks that will be focused on all the same stuff that have done historically, whether that's, the non-native vegetation removal, the trail maintenance. And when we have projects that are going on, the park management plan development, the, park master plan stuff, volunteers as well as the rest of the public will also be engaged to assist in those. But we don't have, those projects, those larger projects happening on an ongoing regular basis. And so we will pull groups together kind of in an ad hoc way when we have those needs. And in an ongoing basis, we will continue with the park level maintenance. Those tasks are definitely where we are challenged.
It seems like the stewards did a lot more than what you're describing there, but on that, then I have to say about EMBA, I don't understand then how we can be paying them now to do trail maintenance when stewards would have done that for free. I talked to two of the guys the other day and they were out there. I heard trees falling and they are grooming the whole ranger corridor, which I understand Irene hired them to do, which was covering roots, to maintain the trail. But they're like, oh yeah, these are going to be walking trails, and I just don't understand how people could pay money to buy this park and then be basically excluded from a third of it because now the ranger corridor, the hood trail, and they just keep expanding their bikeways that people just don't walk down. And, I'm making it a point now to walk down all the trails. And I told them that too. And they said, well, we can, you can walk up in the bike park, but you have to yield the bikes. And I'm like, okay, but you guys need to change your signs then and say, pedestrians can walk in the bike park because that's the problem. It's like, I don't understand how EMBA can get paid. And also it seems conflicted. Hey,
Yeah.
I know. I'm just.
Okay, well, okay. The point is, though, we're getting off pros plan and we're getting into individual parks. Well, so I'm gonna ask you to look, talk to parks individually on this one because this is not a Parks and Recreation overarching thing. And no, it's not. Okay. So, all right. Nancy, you've had your light lit up for quite a while and everything.
I've been being quiet though.
Yeah.
So would it be appropriate for me to approach Katie Walters about scheduling another totally parks meeting? If she's the one that made the decision that it was going to have to be squeezed into the community council?
Certainly. Yeah, you can ask her for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Figured I should ask permission.
Pertinent, Don?
Hello. I have reservations about the plan. I think it does a really good job of collected a ton of information and compiled it. But my concern is that a lot of the goals and objectives are really high level. And the capital projects seem to be tons and tons of them. And I was hoping that we would have more guidance from the document on how to navigate. And I feel like it's missing the reality of where we're at with budget and staffing. But I have to also say that even though I have a lot of reservations about the document, I've pulled myself back into what the goal of this document was. And it is to help guide parks. I believe it's collected a lot of community engagement information in a variety of ways. And I think we've seen that a lot of people in the community would still like to give more information, but it has collected a lot. And I do think it does give parks guidance on where to go. They're going to have to make a lot of tough decisions internally, and they're going to have to put a lot more effort. The plan didn't give the parks the direction that I had hoped it would. But even so, this document, I think, is a really necessary document to keep on the timeline. And the reason I believe that is because, well, I know that the RCO grants, we need to have this document. And I don't want to throw another wrench at parks because, I mean, we're dealing with incredible staffing issues and budget crunches, and I don't want to throw another hurdle at them that now they have to deal with possibly loss of some of these grant fundings or making all of these steps a lot more difficult because we don't have a document. And I also think it's, you know, mandated by a variety of other things that we have this document. So even though I feel it leaves a lot to be desired in many ways, I still feel like we need to keep pushing forward. And I believe that Parks is they're doing their best with a document that maybe wasn't ideally written to begin with. So I really want to commend them for that and support the moving forward of our timeline.
Thank you, Dawn. Okay. I'm gonna make my little comments here and a little Q&A with y'all, and then we'll go ahead and move forward through our agenda because we're kind of circling the drain here. First off, my commendations. A lot of hard work, and it shows. Is it perfect? No. So the question is for y'all, when this thing gets finalized and adopted, is it cast in stone with a lead seal on it? Or can it be adjusted on the fly afterwards as we discover where we need to do stuff? If that's a possibility.
The answer is yes, it can be adjusted on the fly. It can be amended. This is not a stamp in the stone that says that the Parks Department has to operate this way because this is the way that the plan says. If there are improvements to be made over the next 6 years that reflect a change from this or an evolution from what we have here, that is the direction we want to move in. There's also opportunity when we get 6 years down the road, we'll have to do this whole song and dance again. And knowing what challenges we have today or what we don't like in the plan or where it falls short, noting that is we can target those for the next iteration.
Thank you. That's exactly what I wanted to hear. Okay, what I would ask of staff, you say you'll have these edits done ideally by the end of the week. I'm not going to hold you to that. Okay. Hopefully you get them done before I get my voice back. So when those go out to the board, here's the charge to the board. Go through these, see if it's palatable enough to move forward. Not perfect. I am not looking for perfection. Let's see if it's palatable enough to move forward. Put it on the April agenda for a yes/no vote on whether we recommend or not. And then we can move forward. Okay? Thank you. What an error. Oh, I can't say that with a live mic.
How will the public know when the revised version comes out?
We'll post it on the project site. We're going to keep the current draft up, and we will post this one with a different name for it. Maybe just a different draft name with the different dates. And we're also going to post the tracker sheet that shows what the edits were, so that you can compare. The document was written in InDesign, which doesn't allow for line in, line out edits. So it's really hard to track them. So we're tracking them in a spreadsheet outside of the document, but we want to keep both of them up so that a comparison can be made.
All right, thank you. Okay. Now, subcommittee assignments. All right, everybody had a chance everybody that was on the board last month had a chance to offer any, excuse me, rented teeth. They had a chance to volunteer for subcommittees. First off, are we still good with our subcommittees? I mean, they've been working fairly well for quite a while. Some have been fairly inactive due to some of the churn at agency, but well, I'm hearing no objections to that, which is nice. We do have a new member who is not on any of our subcommittees yet. This is your chance to shine. Your hot mic button is there.
I would like to join the community outreach and visitor services. Nancy.
Thank you. I was feeling a little lonely.
Anybody else want to jump onto a committee? I mean, the committees look pretty good right now. You know, ad hocs can form up later. We can have up to 4 people on a committee. 5 makes a quorum. Open Meetings Act get us. So I see you going. I see you over there counting, Alex. I'm ahead of you.
I don't see my name.
Well, where do you want to put your name?
Capital projects. And planning and property.
Well, thank you, John. We look forward to having your wisdom on there.
Feeling bad that my name wasn't on it.
I could have volunteered you for stuff. You skipped last meeting. I could have done that to you.
I figured you probably have, and I didn't see my name on any of that. I didn't hear a train anywhere.
Okay. Okay, moving forward. Alex, Parks Director's report. Oh,
Sorry, I have one question related. We are still 1 member short, correct?
No, actually, the position was filled. They're just absent today.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, we are a full Parks Advisory Board at 9 members currently. Mike Hoffman. North Kitsap. Yeah, if I didn't have that on here, my apologies. Yeah, the last one, he was on vacation.
he could have zoomed in from the airport like some people did.
All right. Oh, go ahead, Amy.
Hi, I don't think I'm on the list, but I could be on the capital projects committee if that's okay.
Yeah.
And I had one question going back to the pros plan, not to derail anything. I was just curious about whether the summary of like thematic comments that was presented earlier, is that something that could be available to us as we review the next draft?
Do you mean the PowerPoint from today?
Yeah.
Yeah, certainly. We can post that on the site or send it to you directly.
That would be great. That was really helpful. Thank you.
Certainly. All right. Let's see. I didn't even think we would get to the director's report today. So I'm, don't have anything highlighted.
Anything
to share.
extracurricular?
There's one positive item to share. The parking lot construction, the North Gateway parking lot at Port Gamble Forest Heritage Park. The SEPA appeal has been withdrawn and the project will begin to move forward again. I do not have a new timeline at this point. That's being evaluated by the Public Works Roads Department, who is managing the project. But just an FYI, an update on that project. On the Point No Point beach and shoreline repair projects, we are beginning, hopefully continuing to make progress with permits getting approved, and that process continues to move forward. So it is an interesting way that the permits for that are set up, that some permits can't move forward until others are completed, and then it triggers the next one, and then it triggers the next one. And some of that is county to state, state to feds, and it's a spider web that is interesting. But there is movement on that project. We are still, fingers crossed, very hopeful. We will hit the water work window of August 15th to October 15th, but our timeline is extremely tight. So we're hopeful there. I don't have it on here, but we recently had a really good meeting with members of Central Kitsap School District. You will recall on our capital improvement list, we have a replacement of turf on the Gordon 1 soccer field here across the street. The school district is replacing the synthetic turf on the Olympic High School football stadium just over this direction, as well as constructing a new field over at the middle school around the corner, Fairview. So we are going to work together to see if we can take advantage of the 3 projects happening in the area at the same time, all happening this summer, and accomplish that one in a joint effort between the county and the school district. They also have some tennis court projects going on, which we have 2 tennis court resurfacing projects. And so we're looking to join forces on those as well, take advantage of a good partnership to accomplish similar projects. And with that, I'll leave the director's report. If there are questions, happy to answer. Dawn, please.
I had some questions about how things are put onto this, specifically in the natural resources program. You break out like volunteer work parties in January. There were 27 work parties. Do you ever break that out? What were staff led versus volunteer led and did not have staff present?
I believe we have that data, but we've not presented it this way. We certainly can.
And I've noticed that you have under partners work with that period. How do people get on that list for partners?
A lot of this is just groups that we either have kind of ongoing relationships with or we get outside groups who contact us and they say, hey, we want to bring our staff members and do a work party somewhere. And then through Aaron or when we had them, the other 2 coordinators, they would work out a project and set it up. So a lot of that is how connections with the Navy happen. We've also gotten, some banks who want to bring their entire staff out and do projects like that. But otherwise, it's a lot of just other groups that we work with. The Youth Academy, those get scheduled annually. So we schedule dates.
Do you feel that is an exhaustive list for people who you participated with in the month?
It should be. It's intended to be.
Okay, so I'm getting to the point where I'm trying to ask about steward groups. Specifically, there's the Friends of Newberry Hill, for example, and they have the applesauce game. A lot of people are very familiar with that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm surprised that they never show up on here as a partner that's worked with. Because if you actually calculated some of those hours, like the work parties, they have a work party every week. And they have at least 5 people, and it's a lot of things. So I'm wondering if we could include the stewards in this as a group. Because I'm hearing a lot of discontent and a lot of feeling that they're not valued. And here is one way that I'm seeing that parks could emphasize that we are acknowledging that this work is happening. Because right now, you can't look at that and understand that, say, something like the applesauce gang, who actually in the past, I think they've even put together memorandum of understandings from the Friends of Newberry Hill to write up what their plans are, what they would like to accomplish. They're out there weekly. And there are other groups, I'm just using them as an example, but I'm not seeing that reflected on our reporting. And I think that could go a long way to helping the community and the stewards understand what's happening.
Yeah, we can.
I do think
consider
Frank
it.
keeps track of their hours. Doesn't he turn those in?
Yeah, the hours we track, the work is reflected. I'd say in here, it's probably just under the Newberry Hill Heritage Park in the upper category where it's categorized as volunteerism or volunteer hours captured in those locations, but not specifically identified to a group within that park. So
The traditional work party that takes place once a month on a Saturday for 2 hours and oftentimes gets fairly large groups from churches, Navy, whatever, come in and work and then this applesauce gang started with just a couple old guys that got nicknamed. And now is developed into, I think, total, there's probably 10 of us, but it's up to 15. Wow. Yeah. And it's every week, and it's from 8 to 11 or 11:30. I mean, they work much longer, get a lot done.
any other questions about what's provided in the director's report? Thank you.
Okay, our next item is subcommittee reports. Subcommittees have not met, so that's a very short report there. So now district representative reports. Who would like to go? Nancy.
Central Kitsap, again, Newberry Hill Park. I got a report after the big storm. Just to give you an idea, the amount of damage out there, Ricochet Trail is a half-mile long and there were 9 trees down. There was a tree on Wildlife close to the viewing platform that is monstrous. I mean, it's like that kind of diameter, that's been already cut and the middle piece moved off the trail. Not so much on the other side, but Wildlife and Strange Days and Gear Jammer, Ricochet, those were all pretty much a mess. They have been cleared.
Anybody else with any district reports? How's life in the north end?
I could bring up the EMBA thing again. I mean, yeah, well, that's another thing. So Port Campbell Forest Heritage Park has a plastic toy problem. It's not a garbage problem, but it is garbage. So I do want to bring that up in that, I walk out on the trails every day and Port Campbell Forest Heritage Park in particular has I don't know what the kids are doing out there, but they're setting up little picturamas with various toys. And It's quite obnoxious. And yeah, so that is one of the things. So we got to deal with this. And North Kitsap Heritage Park has a marble, and somebody's doing, I call him the marble man. He's been out there for years, or it could be a woman, but yeah, they put marbles in the tree trunks and in the tree knots, and you know, it's just trash. So you know, they think it's cute or fun, but you know, yeah, it's a little obnoxious. So thanks.
Would it be possible, I suggested a picture of all these things. If possible for the parks to laminate that and put it up on the bulletin boards that are at the trailheads, you know, put a circle with a slash across it. Yeah, no wild creatures or something like that.
Treasure too.
Yeah.
It's not, you know, and I did take a picture of that. So, you know, too bad I didn't have one last month with the 50 pounds of trash, but.
Yeah, we should have taken a picture of all the skeletons too. Send us your picture. I like your idea. We can put it up there with a pack it in, pack it out kind of.
Yeah, we had.
No trace.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is a good one, but again, it's just people don't think this is trash. It's treasure.
It is. For some little kid, it's a treasure. But on the other hand, we had people that were creating art out of things, and we requested that people stop in Newberry, and it's down to just stones with a little bit of moss around them to on top of a stump to make a face, which is easily brushed off. And, you know, it's all natural materials. It's not plastics and so on.
Dawn, anything to report from your world or?
Some of our parks had quite a bit of damage, but Coulter Creek wasn't too bad compared to South Kitsap Regional and I think Woods Lake and some other places that.
Yeah, I didn't hear any real horrible reports out of Banner. I've been remiss about getting out there, but now that they've released me for full operations, I will probably get back out there. So, alrighty.
And one more thing, North Kitsap. So out at Port Gamble Forest Heritage Park on Lower Mirkwood, on various trails, there was a lot of down trees. So, you know, I don't report it on Quick Fix, whatever, except what Carol was talking about with Ewok Trail. That was really bad. But generally, you know, I just leave the trees because they get in the way of mountain bikers. And they have to go around or climb over them. But yeah, so there were a lot of trees down in Port Gamble Forest Heritage.
Yeah, I think between volunteer and steward efforts and staff efforts, we cleared over 150 trees across the entire park system from the windstorm that we had recently. So there was a lot. If there are still some down, please let us know. Please see Click Fix It and we will respond.
See no hands. All right. So now last thing on the agenda is public comment. Do we have any public comments? Yes.
Susan Anderson again. I had a couple of other questions. One, are the Kitsap County parks motorized or non-motorized? Okay, because that's not clear to me in the pros plan. And it is a big one to make sure that people know that. The other thing too is that I like Nancy and Dawn, you know, we know of, I only know of one 501c3 organization that's Newberry Hill Heritage Park stewards that actually went to the trouble of becoming a 501c3. So I was wondering, does Port Gamble also do that?
There is a group up there called the Friends of the Forest. They have encouraged large donations from the community, and were able to purchase timber rights.
Yes.
For large tracts. And then Hansville has a group, are they 501c3? I don't know.
I can provide it. Yeah, it's Our Forest Fund is the nonprofit that's doing fundraising at in the north end to acquire additional timber rights for Port Campbell. Illahee Forest Preserve is a nonprofit that is dedicated to Illahee Preserve Heritage Park. Newberry, you mentioned, has one. Hansville does not individually, but they work under the umbrella of GPC. So Great Peninsula Conservancy is kind of their umbrella.
Well, I was so struck by the funding issue because you really can't exist without the funding, and it's even becoming worse. So I thought, well, maybe there could be friends of the Kitsap Forest or Kitsap parks. But the problem with that is you have to wind up prioritizing everything, and then everybody starts to determine that theirs is, has to have the top priority, and you have all those squabbles. And so I do think that encouraging the 501c3 organizations by the heritage parks in particular would be one way to handle a lot.
Yeah, the Newberry was sort of, I think, the first one, and groups like the Rotary Club, they can't. I belong to Rotary Club. We've given $10,000 to Newberry Hill over the years, and but we can't do it except we have to do it through the 501c3.
Exactly.
And there's, REI gives a grant every year, and there's all kinds of organizations that if it's a 501c3, you're more likely to get money.
I like the idea in theory, but I do have a slight concern that sometimes money gets things done. And for instance, the walkers don't have a group necessarily. The bikers have a group. So sometimes I think these groups are beneficial and I think they're really helpful, but I think we also have to manage them as part of our whole community and not let one group become too powerful just because it has the money. It may not have the people. It may have more money than people.
And I also think that, money needs to go to staffing, because all of the volunteers can volunteer, but you still have to have it seems to me that you'd still have to have a staff person there to manage whatever the project is. Someone has to ultimately be responsible, liable. So,
Yeah, speaking from a nonprofit standpoint, you can provide money for materials, but you really can't staff. That's up to the parks to do. But at least if we get the materials and the volunteers do the work with parks management, I mean, we put in the bridge up by the north, the old beaver pond that is no more. There's a bridge there that all the materials were supplied by the Rotary Club.
but I'm just saying that, anything to help this deficit, it's just extreme.
I appreciate the sentiments and the thoughts, and very definitely good ideas. Thank you very much, Susan. Dee, do we have anybody in the queue?
Yes, we do. And Joe Lubisher, I'm allowing you to talk.
Okay. Good evening again. Couple comments. I think the landscape classification didn't come across as being clear. Let me put it in context. It doesn't stand by itself. The idea behind the landscape classifications was part of a planning process, in particular for the large heritage parks, right? You start out with resource assessments and environmental assessments, and then you move to doing landscape classifications, and then you move to looking at what kind of safety restorations you need, like the water system at Port Gamble, or environmental restorations. And then lastly, you move to development. And that's all laid out in the 2018 Appendix 5. So I would suggest you go back and read that. I don't see landscape classifications at all in the 2025 plan, and I certainly don't see this concept about how to move forward. And it's important because Port Gamble's not done, and we still have to do Coulter Creek and Eglon. Okay. So my second point, Alex, I am going to disagree vociferously with your mischaracterization of the stewardship groups. And I'm doing this for the record. The thing about the stewardship groups is that they operated semi-autonomously, you know, completely with collaboration and cooperation with the Parks Department, of course. They were highly efficient. They got things done quickly, and they're resilient. I would remind you when the COVID hit, the Heritage Parks didn't have any problems keeping things in order because those groups existed. There was a camaraderie there. They knew how to work together. They just got stuff done, right? And I've been watching for 4 years now as those stewardship groups have been consistently marginalized and undercut step by step, starting with the simple thing of refusing to reimburse stewards for minor expenses. And now we're at the point where park staff is saying, you can't be out there in the park doing anything unless we know about it. So you've moved from this model of a highly efficient, resilient group at very low cost to the parks to a system now where you have to go out and mobilize people and direct people all the time. The interesting thing about the stewardship groups, they tended to be seniors, they tended to be experienced, and no matter whether we were carpenters or PhDs, brought a wealth of knowledge and experience that you're not going to be able to replace. And like I say, we would take care of things quickly, but we would also be doing long-range planning. You know, you look at all the work that Nancy's group up at Newberry Hill did with the hydraulics. You look at the wetland restoration at North Kitsap. Those things were done at extremely low cost to the Parks Department. And so throwing that out just makes, throwing out the stewardship group system is throwing out community involvement. It's, I just can't see why the Parks Department thinks that's a good idea. The real problem here is the Parks Department doesn't know how to work with a group of people, a group of seniors, a group of experienced people, and has not shown a willingness to be cooperative and communicative and collaborative. So I think that needs to be rethought. I'm sure this is going to come before the Board of Commissioners, and I think it's really important. Heritage parks are kind of unique, and they were sold to the public with the idea that they were big enough to maintain, as it were, you know, to protect wildlife and habitat to a significant degree. And that's a real important part. I don't think there's any issue about parks or fields. Really, the maintenance of them is very much more costly to do parks than it is to do these heritage parks, which once you've acquired the land can be managed at a relatively low cost. But I do think the pros plan needs some more thinking here. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Joe. Dee, do we have anybody else in the queue?
Yes, we do. Beverly Parsons, I'm allowing you to talk.
Thank you.
Sorry, Beverly, can you try that again?
Now, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Great, thanks. I'm Beverly Parsons from Hansville. I wanted to make a suggestion. I guess this would be for Carmen as you're making the changes and indicating what you're doing with comments. Sometimes I've seen that when a comment is made, the response from staff, in some cases, not necessarily from you right now, but just I want to make a distinction, is that sometimes the comment is simply saying, instead of responding to the suggestion, it simply reiterates what you're going to do. So, for example, I know that there was a suggestion made that rather than accept the classification system that is in the current draft, to develop a process by which there's actual involvement of certain types in the development of a classification system over a longer period of time, or to use a much clearer version for a short-term classification system. So I want to be sure that if those kind of suggestions are made, that you state clearly, we will not do that. We will not use a certain process. We are simply going with what we've already decided. Because if you don't make that distinction, the people, you just feel unheard. And you also don't know if anybody is considering your input. And I'm not sure if I'm making my point clear, but simply to reiterate what you are doing is not responding to a suggestion that's been made. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Beverly. Any other public comments?
Yes, we do. And one moment. Okay, allowing Carol Price to speak.
Okay, I really appreciate Joe's comment about the lack of community involvement, because that's always what I circle back to with Kitsap County Parks. And I do appreciate what Beverly was saying. We often feel like the decisions are already made, and then we simply have our 2 or 3 minutes, and then you just move on. And it is frustrating. I mean, how many years have I been coming to these meetings and making comment? I want to circle back to the thinning that was done, because I'm deeply concerned about the thinning that will be done at Eglon. I'm sure that's in the works. And I just once again urge you to involve the public. Let us know that you're going to do this. And what are you going to do? Where are you going to cut? How much are you going to cut? Reach out to the residents of Kitsap County. It's one of the reasons that we all get a little frustrated. Well, a lot frustrated. And I would come back to finally making a comment about the number of public comments. You had 445 comments. There are 280,000 people living in Kitsap County. There are, what, 12 people at this meeting tonight? You represent an awful lot of people. If you hear frustration in my voice, then you're hearing me right. You need community involvement. I mean, that is the bottom line. And I am no whiz at this. I wish I knew a way that you could really, really reach out to the public. You seem to only do that through certain groups like Rotary and business groups. It needs to be bigger than that. It needs to be bigger than the Navy. It needs to be bigger than corporations and businesses. I don't have an answer, but I sure wish you would think about it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Carol. If you do come up with any ideas about good outreach and everything, feel free to share it with us.
And we have another public comment from Don Willett. I'm allowing you to talk.
Hi, this is Don. I just wanted to share, Judy and I have been following along and appreciate the work of the park staff and the advisory group. And I don't want to say more than I have plenty of thoughts, but thank you very much for your work.
Well, thank you very much, Don. We greatly appreciate that. Queue is clear? Okay. There is only one other item left on our agenda. That is called adjournment. I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor of adjourning? All opposed? We stand adjourned. Thank you very much. We will see you all next month.